Hello. I thought I'd do an update because the last time I was on here I was talking about starting a Lyme support or a chronic illness support page, and I just haven't gotten on that. I have received everyone's emails. The last time I posted here was the last time I was really on the internet at all. A very quick update. I had sort of a weird throat flare-up, even though I don't have tonsils anymore, and they had to sort of go back in and clean up some infection. And then I was presenting with really severe abdominal pain, and thought it might be my gallbladder, because that often is something that goes in Lymies. And so I sort of, unless think I'm gonna literally die, even though a lot of times I feel like I might, unless I'm gonna literally die, we're trying to avoid the emergency room because of cost, and because a lot of times they sort of don't know how to help people. So I suffered through the abdominal pain, and got a doctor's appointment like early the next day, and they did some testing, and it turns out I'm having some severe liver problems, and they weren't really sure how to address it. And then, so they're sort of waiting for me to see my Lyme doc, and send the results to my Lyme doc. And for a couple of days, my liver and kidneys just sort of basically shut down. I was still having, and I still do have, the abdominal pain in that area, which it's basically like diaphragm height and up under your right rib cage, if you're talking about those organs. But also, my kidneys and liver just sort of start working for a couple of days, so none of like the toxins or waste in my body were leaving. So they had concerns about that, but there was really not much they could do. And my autism and nerve pain, because at this point I am having a lot of my fibro is in flare-up, but I'm having a lot of nerve trouble and a lot of severe autism. It got worse. I can't touch my own skin. Contact with other humans seems horrendous and painful. Eye contact sometimes can be very offensive to me. And my seizures have just gotten really out of control, and I'm on a lot of medication to control them. So I'm having, I don't know if it's a flare in the encephalitis in my brain. I'm still not back on my full Lyme protocol, so it's not necessarily a response to some wrong medicine. They took me off of my full protocol before my throat surgery, but because things keep happening, they know I'm not ready for a herx on top of what else is going on. So so help me out here, folks. My hallucinations have sort of changed, and I think a lot of it's part of the Lyme autism. I'm having like face and voice recognition trouble, and when I say that, I mean like I'll let my mother into my house and know who she is, and I do still always know who she is. But like when I'm conversing with her, that I can rationally talk myself through who I'm speaking with, but her face, and I don't just mean specifically my mother, I mean a lot of people or familiar faces on TV, their face looks different to me than it ever has before. And so I'm having facial recognition problems, and then I'm having oral problems, like, you know somebody's voice, but I'll be on the telephone speaking with my mother, and I'll have to like look and see who I'm talking to, because you can look at your cell phone and see who's in your phone, because her voice sounds so different to me, and people on television, like Friends, watching a rerun of Friends, they all look different than they ever have before, and they sound different. And again, I can rationally talk myself through and figure out, what I'm watching and who people are. So it's not like a total disconnect from reality, but something's happening to my brain where it's seeing and hearing things so differently that it's very confusing and upsetting. Also, I've been having things happen, like I cannot ride in a car without getting severely sick to my stomach, and then it really fries my brain. Elevators already did that. Now cars do that, riding in a car, and if somebody changes lanes, it's like it scrambled my brain, and I feel cross-eyed, and it takes a few minutes to sort of feel better. And my sensitivities on the surface of my skin are awful, and the sounds on the highway are awful, and I'm just not sure what's going on. Everything has gotten so much worse, and I do see my Lyme doc on Friday, but I sort of don't know what to do. I'm having to talk myself through a lot of things, and I've been catching up on videos, and I watched one. No Smarter had one where she was showing sort of an episode she was having, and she was screaming and talking about suffering, and I've thought about suffering a lot lately, and I'm starting to understand the mindset of some people who are gravely ill who say make the decision to stop treatment. I'm talking about like cancer patients or something, and just let life go. I sort of understand that mindset a little bit, because when suffering can reach a point where you're not sure if it's worth fighting to live like this, with your brain twisted and your body twisted, and you can talk yourself through that, but it's just very interesting to not really be able to recognize your mother's face or your husband's face. And also, if anybody else has had the car problems or the elevator problems, I'd like to know what that is. I know it has something to do with my brain, because also sometimes before a seizure or after a seizure, everything I see is purple, and it just makes me feel like an insane person. I know I'm not an insane person, and that it's all a physical, biological thing that's happening in my brain, but it does make you feel crazy when everything you see is purple. I mean, there have been case studies done on like serial killers that say everything turns red and dogs talk to them. Now I'm not having dogs talk to me, and that kind of stuff, but it's just very confusing. And so I haven't really been off the couch much, and I need to force myself to be on the internet and in my chat room and stuff, because in terms of face-to-face socialization, of course, I'm really struggling. I can't look at people or touch people or sometimes hear their voices. It's just really bothersome to me. And so I feel that I do a lot of texting with friends, but when I talk to them, I usually wind up sort of ranting, because first of all, it's been forever. By the time I finally talk to someone, it's been forever since I've spoken, like literally spoken to someone, that I just have so much stuff in there to get out, to talk about, so much disturbing stuff, so it's not very pleasant to talk with me. And then it's confusing, because I'm always trying to remind myself who I'm speaking with, because I don't really recognize voices. So I just feel like nothing's really familiar anymore. So if you've had trouble in moving vehicles and know what that is, or if you've started seeing only one color, everything's one color, I'd like to know. Or if you've had, this sort of face and voice recognition disengagement, I'd like to know if you know what that is. And then in terms of that channel, that is something that I really will set up, and